Brady boats and Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show in miniature. Hope you enjoy. This miniature show has toured the world, and Fort Cody is now a surefire way to get smoking.
Back on the trail from North Platte, Nebraska. North Platte really wasn't a city or stop during the Oregon Trail days, but it was important because the Platte River split north and south at this point. I mean, they're both heading west, but there's a North Platte River and a South Platte River. And there would be, most of the Oregon Trail went along the South Platte River, and then the Mormon Trail, which kind of goes along similar trajectory, they would go on the North Platte River. So kind of interesting that they would choose different sides of the river, or different, you know, it really aren't that far apart from each other. And so what we're going to explore kind of maybe is in between the two. And then we're going to end up in Ogallala today. That'll be our destination. It's only 55 miles from North Platte. But the reason is because once you get to Ogallala, the trail splits in two. There was a main trail that actually went down into Colorado, and then later a cutoff that went a more direct route. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take the Colorado route and then kind of backtrack to Ogallala, which is kind of where that trail split. Starting the day here in North Platte, we're going to work our way west along the South Platte River. More than likely, the travelers went a little bit on the south side of the river. We're going to go on US 30, two-lane highway, which is actually on the north side of the river, so we can go through some little towns. But we will cross over from time to time. There's some wagon ruts right around here, and we'll go on through a few small towns until we get to Ogallala. So I'm driving through all these towns in Nebraska, and they're very similarly set up, where the railroad kind of runs through the middle, and there's an overpass to go from kind of I-30 over to the other side of town. And then there's these bridges, these massive walking bridges. And so I want to show you, because I've been seeing them town after town after town. So I thought, well, I'm going to go at least walk over one. Here's where the trail splits. So we're gonna go pretty much continue heading west, continuing along the South Platte, and this is where we go into Colorado. And as you can see, we don't stay in Colorado very long, back up into Nebraska and continuing to head west. Here at Sydney, we're gonna turn and pretty much go straight north. And this is where the other trail is gonna connect eventually. But today, we're gonna go straight north and we're gonna turn right and head back to Ogallala. So I've completed the main route through Colorado back up into Nebraska, and now I'm going to head back to Ogallala. And here in Mud Springs, which was kind of wasn't a town, but it was a little settlement or something like that. The Pony Express used it as a station. As you can imagine, you know, towns and settlements were few and far between out here, so they had to create a sod station for the Pony Express. And just, you know, was tough. You know, it's tough getting through these areas. And as you can tell behind me, there's blue sky and then there's a storm coming. And just, I can't imagine if someone from the east is, you know, in a wagon train heading west and seeing the kind of weather that you see in this part of the country that changes so dramatically, so quickly. This is actually, listening to the radio, this is a 60-mile-an-hour wind with hail and, you know, coming this way. So that's why I'm getting done with this part of the trail and heading back. But imagine you're in a wagon trail and you have no idea what's coming except for these kind of clouds. And must have been, you know, frightening and wild, and definitely, you know, makes you think a little bit about what they were going through in places like Mud Springs, Nebraska. Today I'm gonna head west pretty directly towards Wyoming, and this was the next part of the route was more of a shortcut that settlers took, that was a more direct route compared to yesterday, which was a little more of a kind of down and around, down into Colorado and up. Which was kind of the original route. So we'll see how this looks. There's only a few towns before we reconnect with where we would be yesterday, so it's definitely a shortcut. As we leave Ogallala, you can take a side trip up to Lake McConaughey, and it's about 10 miles north of Ogallala. When I backtracked yesterday, I drove kind of around it, and it's really beautiful. They got some white sand beaches and certainly a place to go check out, but I would need, you know, days to really do it justice. Ogallala is right down here, so we're gonna basically head south of Lake McConaughey here, and we're gonna continue west and a little bit north for several little towns. And we'll continue west until we basically reconnect with where we were yesterday. once again, this is where we reconnect with the trail from yesterday that went through Colorado, as just a little bit east of Bridgeport. And then we're just gonna continue through many little small towns, many landmarks along the way. We have arrived to Chimney Rock, and it is one of the most significant landmarks on the Oregon Trail. It was the most referenced by pioneers as they were, journaling and writing diaries about their trip. They would come upon this, and then, before we just were at Courthouse and Jail Rocks, that was kind of the first, monolith, you would see coming through the this part of the Oregon Trail. And then they would come here and would see this, and we're just kind of amazed that this was just kind of in the middle of the trip out here. So I think it's weathering away, so who knows how long it'll remain like this. I think it's smaller than it used to be, especially in the 1840s and 1850s when people were in the heyday of the Oregon Trail. Our final part of Nebraska takes us up into Gering. We're gonna go around Scottsbluff. There's a couple different cities kind of in this metropolitan area. And then we'll be right back on the trail heading over towards Wyoming.